Come on, man, this sounds like a toy. In 1980, critics said this machine sounded robotic and toy-like. They laughed at it. Roland didn't know what to do with it. Yet, this exact failure became the heartbeat of modern music. Today, I'm going to show you why the experts are almost always wrong about the future, and why your bad ideas may actually be genius. To understand what went so wrong, you have to understand Roland's original vision. In 1980, they introduced the TR-808 as a professional tool, priced at $1,200. It was meant for studios, for musicians to create demos. But its fundamental design contained what the industry saw as a fatal flaw. To create its distinctive sizzling sound, the engineers deliberately used faulty transistors. These were components that had been rejected by quality control, bought cheaply because they were out of specification. This wasn't an accident, it was a creative choice to achieve a specific sonic character. The market reaction was brutal. Critics and established musicians dismissed it as noise. They said it didn't sound like real drums. And they were right, it didn't. At the same time, machines like the Lean LM1 were hitting the market using actual samples of drums. Compared to that pristine, realistic sound, the 808's synthetic tones seemed primitive, almost childish. It was the wrong product at the wrong time, according to conventional wisdom. If you've seen my video on why modern pop still sounds like the 1980s, you already know this part of the story. The 808 wasn't just a commercial disappointment, it was a full-on box office flop in drum machine form. The final nail in the coffin was, in fact, poor sales. Roland had to stop production because they simply ran out of those specific faulty transistors, as the semiconductor technology improved and the components became unavailable. But the price collapse was already underway, driven by market rejection. As established musicians abandoned their unwanted 808s, the second-hand market was flooded with cheap units. A machine that cost over $1,000 new was now selling for $100 or less. It was a total write-off, a commercial death. If you bought one at a full price back then,
this is the part where you're allowed to pause the video and scream into a pillow.
But this death created the perfect conditions for a revolution. Because when something becomes that affordable, it falls into the hands of people who aren't burdened by the rules of the old guard. It becomes accessible to the outsiders, the innovators, the kids who don't care what an expert in a magazine thinks. They just hear a sound that speaks to them. And that's exactly what happened next. So, the price collapsed, a commercial death sentence. But in reality, this was the moment the 808 was truly born. Because when a flagship machine drops from $1,200 to $100, it stops being a tool for the establishment. It falls into the hands of the hungry, the outsiders, the kids in bedrooms who didn't care about mimicking real drums because they couldn't afford a real drummer anyway. This price crash acted as a filter. It removed the purists who wanted realism and left the innovators who wanted impact. Look at what happened in Tokyo around 1981. My beloved Yellow Magic Orchestra didn't try to hide the 808's robotic nature. They amplified it. They saw the machine not as a backup player, but as a lead vocalist. They realized that this fake plastic sound cut through a mix in a way that acoustic drums never could. But the real explosion, the moment the mistake became the standard, happened in 1982. And it happened because two artists took the 808 and forced it to do opposite things. On one side, you had Afrika Bambaataa in the Bronx. He wasn't looking for a drummer, he was looking for a robot. With Planet Rock, he didn't just use the 808, he weaponized that deep artificial boom of the kick drum. The industry called it unrealistic. Bambaataa proved that unrealistic was exactly what the future sounded like. He birthed electro and techno not by fixing the machine's flaws, but by cranking them up to maximum volume. On the other side, you had Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Soul, the establishment. He took this cold mechanical box and did the impossible. He made it sexy. Sexual Healing proved that the 808 wasn't just for science fiction beats, it had a heartbeat. By combining his human voice with the machine's rigid grid, he created a tension that felt more modern than any live band. The drum machine wasn't trying to imitate the drummer, it was quietly applying for a promotion. Do you see the irony? The engineers at Roland failed to make a machine that sounded like a drum kit. But the users, the ones listening with their ears and not reading the papers, discovered that Roland had accidentally built something far better, a machine that sounded like pure electricity. And this story is not unique. The 808 is perhaps the most dramatic example, but it's part of a pattern. The true value of a technology is almost never defined by its inventors or its initial marketing. It's defined by its users, by the creators who get their hands on it and ask, what can I do with this that nobody else did? The theremin, for example, was initially seen as a novelty, a strange noise maker. But musicians like Clara Rockmore showed it could be an instrument of incredible expressiveness. Then there is the TB-303, another Roland failure. Designed to be a bass companion for guitarists, it was a flop. But when it fell into the hands of Chicago house producers, its squelching, acidic sound became the foundation of acid house. They misused it and in doing so created a genre. Even in software we see the same pattern. Autotune was created as a tool to correct pitch imperfections, to make vocals perfectly in tune. But then artists like Cher and T-Pain used it not as a corrective tool, but as a vocal effect. They turned a tool for fixing mistakes into a signature sound. The industry purists hated it, of course. They said it was cheating, that it wasn't real singing. Sounds familiar? The common thread in all these cases is clear. Initial rejection by the purists, followed by groundbreaking adoption by innovators who are working with constraints. The purists are obsessed with being faithful to the old way of doing things. The innovators are obsessed with possibility. They aren't burdened by the rules of what something is supposed to be. They see a tool and they ask the only question that really matters.
What can I make with this?
So, what does this mean for us right now? We're living in another moment of massive technological shift, with AI flooding into creative tools. Now, some of you may be tempted to think, oh, AI is new, the purists hate it, but the innovators are embracing it. So it's just the same story of the Roland TR-808. No, it's not. And let me tell you why. While I think it's okay to use AI to create a different arrangement of your own material, I've always been extremely critical of totally AI-generated music, and a couple of years ago I posted a video about it. The core distinction between the 808 story and AI is this. The 808 compelled innovation because it was fundamentally flawed. Its imperfect sounds forced creators to invent entirely new genres to accommodate its quirks. AI, in contrast, is designed for optimization. It analyzes millions of successful tracks from the past to produce polished variations that minimize risk. It's a shortcut to commercial acceptability, not a catalyst for genuine innovation. True innovation doesn't come from using AI to replicate what already worked. It comes from creators who refused that shortcut, who use their own brains to find creative solutions in the face of constraints. If we let AI optimize everything for success, where will the next generation find the faulty transistor, the glorious mistake that forces them to invent the future? The real innovators today are those choosing the hard path of original thought, not the easy path of algorithmic variation. The 808 didn't change music because it was good. It changed music because it was wrong. And in being wrong, it forced us to hear something new.